to it. I'm Ido Green. I'm developer advocate for Google, focusing on Chrome, the web, and these last few months, startups as well, trying to bridge the point between external developers and internal developers, and I'm having lots of fun. I'll put another thing. Who here like the web as a platform? Okay, who love the web as a platform? Great. So I myself have been doing things on the web for the past 20 years. I'm really passionate about this platform. I think it's amazing. The openness, all the things that we have there, no barrier of entry, the way that we could share information quickly with others, and the fact that it's belong to no one or everyone, it's something that I'm truly passionate about. And it's related to this talk because it's, in a way, got to a position that we're quite frustrated with what we see today, especially on the mobile web. And this cool project, open project, came with one huge goal to make our life, bless you, to make our life much easier, better, and make our users smile more. So we don't have it yet, but I think you can imagine a nice pictures. We have a shift in the way that people are consuming content. It's more and more being done on those mobile devices that we held in our hands. And we all know the fact that, you know, the next billion users are coming on those mobile devices. And I won't surprise anyone here. In most cases, we're quite frustrated with it, right? It's very slow. Sometimes it's get the feeling that we're just sucking all the CPU and the power of our device. It's just not moving. It's stuck. Sometimes we just can't read well. Or after we waited and we were patient, the content is shifting because some ads or some other things are being repainted on the page. So we got used to it in a way. I mean, I know for myself that I'm opening few tabs and I'm giving them to load in the background, and then I'm doing a nice round robin or something like that just to make sure that I'm a bit more efficient than the regular user that doesn't do it and just stuck there and wait. And the trends are there. I mean, it's all up and to the right. People are consuming more and more news articles on their mobile devices. If you want some numbers, so almost 80% are doing it on their mobile devices, and the numbers are going to get even bigger. One interesting thing is that the engagement is actually higher. So you would expect that with this quite lousy user experience, it will be lower, but users are just stuck there. So we have it, and I know that we all really, really want to improve the current situation. There's another trend that we see more and more. People are downloading and actually falling on our pages, not through the homepage, but from WhatsApp, Facebook, Google search, any other, lots of different channels that are bringing users to our actually inside pages. And this is just coming to drive the point home that the homepage is no longer this one single point of truth that people are starting their navigation there and going and consuming your content. Now, people are falling on your site from lots of different angles and channels, and we know that for a fact that you don't have a second chance to make the first good impression, and the 3 seconds is actually just, you know, a line in the sand. But try after the talk, you know, go to any big news site here in Tel Aviv that you know, and do a page speed test or any other way to check what is the time that it will be loading. You all know that it will be quite frustrating. And lots of users are just dropping it, so a missed opportunity to publishers. So we came with two main aspects that we want to change and make better. One is to have fast, engaging pages while keeping the monetization aspect in them. And the other is how could we operate in a world, as I mentioned before, that discovery is happening in lots of different channels. So that's exactly why this project is coming to life, accelerate mobile pages. And in a way, we could start before we covering and bringing the hood up, just to drive into a quick demo. You could open your phone and go to google.com and do a quick search. You immediately will see this. And what this means is that in the search results, exactly there, you'll get this nice carousel, and you could just shift through the results, and they're all bringing up instantly. And obviously, a much, much better experience that we used to have in the previous life of all these news articles or publishers that are really, really taking lots of time and efforts. So the goal of the projects were to make pages load as fast as we can with all the best practices that we all know, but in reality, we less leverage them and using them. To make it very easy to implement, this is one of the key points because we all live in the real world and we know that we are bound to a legacy systems of few years back. We wanted to make it as a low-hanging fruit. So it would be easy to implement. It could be something that we could do it today. Enable monetization, again, of course, you must have the opportunity and the ability to make money. And that's one of the things that I really like on those type of projects that are starting as a project that is going inside a company and then just exploding in terms of the openness of it. So it's all open source, and I'll have links to how you could contribute and take part of it. If we think about web pages today, it's just a semantic, but it's come to show that lots of code are being downloaded, and if you'll go to http://archive.org, you'll see that the trend is just going higher and higher. And with the AMP project, we came to a conclusion that a lot of muscle memory could be thought and could be shared between lots of sites. Think about an image carousel. How many different types of JavaScript libraries we need in order to have it, and each one having its own different variation of it? Why couldn't we just share everything in one simple thing with the ability and the flexibility to give you the opportunity to, of course, have it in your site with all the different styling, themes, etc. So when we're thinking about AMP pages, and that's quite critical to get it from the start, we aren't talking about new technology. It's all leveraging the same technology that we all use and love. We're talking about AMP HTML, which is a slight variation in terms of the constraint that we're putting on us, the developers. CSS, of course, as much as you like, with slight limitations. There's no just injected JavaScript or one-off JavaScript that will make things slower. Instead, we're just using custom elements. And we have a bunch of them, I'll show you. And actually, we have another prefill of the AMP iframe because we know that every time that there is a need for a specific certain solution, we want to enable you, the developers, to have the freedom to do whatever you like and need to do. And of course, the most important part is the JavaScript library, that making all the magic of leveraging the best practices that, again, we all know and we'll go over them real quick, but putting them into the page and making sure that it's all being done for you. So all the legwork, the heavy lifting, and to make sure that the fine-tuning of performances is being done with this JavaScript library that is highly cacheable. We're using the Google Ad Network here, and it's all being given for free, so the pages, everything will be cached. We have all the definition for custom elements in the library, and it's basically managing the rendering, the loading of the resource, making sure that only what's in the viewport is being come first and all the rest later. It doesn't need to really redraw elements because everything like the AMP image will be with all the specific dimension and everything. So basically just taking all the best practices, again, that we've been preaching and talking about for the past, I don't know, 15 years, and just implementing them and giving you an easy way to have them in a current legacy system. So in terms of the flow and the main components, we're talking about HTML, HTML5, with the slight variation of AMP HTML, so specific tags that we're using. We're talking about the JavaScript library and CSS, and of course the caching to make sure that the pages are as close as possible to your users. As a tool for developer and to make sure that we are making it correctly the first time, it's got a built-in validator, and for each link that you are building, you're opening Chrome DevTools and just heading #developmode=1, and immediately you're getting the feedback, which a nice debugger of what's going on with the tags, what you can correct quickly, what not. How it's working. So in terms of the publishing flow, you have those big publishers. Sometimes they will use a proprietary CMS. Sometimes they will use a CMS that is quite popular out there. Currently, more and more CMSs are doing, giving you the ability actually to publish AMP files by definition. So if you go to Drupal, WordPress, lots of big ones out there, they're already doing it for you. And you basically have the two versions, so the current version of the HTML that you're producing, and you have a new version of the AMP HTML with the canonical rel tag, of course, to make sure that search engines and crawlers know to distinguish the two. Then the AMP HTML will be cached to make sure that it will work as fast as possible, and will go to those publishers that, by the way, they're just icons to make something nice in front of the eyes. There are many, many more. So the experience will be instant. In terms of the components that we spoke about earlier, this is how it's separated. And we're leveraging the caching, of course, and the pre-rendering. So all the links on the AMP pages will be pre-rendering. So again, the user will get this fast experience of everything being loaded in the background. So let's dive a bit deeper to the HTML format, and then we'll go on all the other different building blocks. When we're going and thinking about the AMP, we're talking about, let's think for a second, what is the current state of average mobile site? And this is just coming to illustrate that the current baseline is not very challenging. The current baseline of a mobile website is quite there at the back of the pack. When we're talking about a hand-tuned craft site that hopefully some of you are building, yeah, it could be here at the top of the pack. And unfortunately, it's very rare to see such sites. And with AMP, we're actually trying not to beat the first and foremost that is already fine-tuned, but be very, very close to them. And the beauty here is that once we're doing it for one, we're actually doing it for all. So unlike this example that might be nice in terms of the illustration, but might be a bit wrong in terms of there's only one spot to be second, very close place, here actually we could have it for all the sites that are building it and using the technology. Why? Because all of them will use the best practices the AMP is giving them, and the users, of course, will enjoy it. So in terms of the AMP format and how it elevates the performances, we're doing all the things that, again, we talked about in our previous lives again and again and again. We're prefetching the elements, and we're trying not to have any layouts and re-rendering of the pages. All the script tags and everything being done with AddSync attribute. We have all the best practices about the source set and the image tag to make sure, again, that the browsers will know in advance what's going on and where, and it could calculate it. So first and foremost, we'll use what the user is seeing, the port view, and only later we'll fetch all the rest of the page. No custom JavaScript that obviously will be a drag. We do have the ability here to have the freedom to do whatever we like, but it must be bound into an AMP iframe. And I'll talk about it a bit more later because it's giving you an escape patch to have everything that you want right now. Obviously, if you want to do it not in a hacky way, in a more proper way that others will enjoy the benefits of a specific custom model that you are using, you should do it in the project as an AMP element. But at least if you want to use it today, you could definitely use this escape patch. So no scrolling elements on the page. And this is just a max limit to make the pages as fast as we can. So from tests that been done in the project, the proof is in the pudding. It's much, much faster, and it's actually attacking 2 points. One, of course, we improving the user experience, and the page is there in an instant. The other way is that it's far less data. And again, the next billion users that will come are quite sensitive to data. We here have unlimited data plans most of the time, and we don't really think about it. But for the next billion users in India, Indonesia, Mexico, those places are quite sensitive, and the ability to reduce it in such a matter, it's a huge, huge benefit. In terms of caching, you all, I'm sure, quite well aware, caching is better. You want to be as close as possible to your users. Without AMP, the web server is located somewhere, and then it needs to travel the world, hopefully just once, until it reaches the user. With the caching layer, of course, it's much, much closer to the users. And pre-rendering. So again, all the best practices of making sure that what the user is going to see in an instant, it's what is revealed to her in the viewport, is being done for you. And of course, all the later heavy lifting of third parties, libraries, ads, elements that are much heavier will be done, but will be done later on when the user actually could do something with the page itself. So those are the three main drivers to the speed. And this is what brings us the experience that we saw earlier in the demo of instant loading of the pages that we are interested in. In terms of support, I mean, like any new project, it's only been launched in last February, the end of February, so it's like 4 months. We see a huge amount of adoption. Publishers all over the world are implementing it. Huge CMSs platform like WordPress and Drupal that I mentioned are already on board. So it's something that's gaining momentum on a daily basis. These are just, again, something to put in front of the eyes. So Google, of course, search, and news and weather are all leveraging it, Twitter, Pinterest, and many, many others. In terms of the momentum in development, we also have huge amount of contributors, and I highly encourage you to catch me after the talk today or tomorrow. If you have any thoughts, feedback, we really love to hear what people are doing with it and what they have in mind. And if you have anything that you'd like to share or recommend, please catch me here face-to-face or afterwards online. As you could see, the GitHub project is quite heavy with contributions. I think the numbers right now, this is from May, so it's a month old. Numbers now are over 2,000 pull requests, so pretty amazing. In terms of focus area, if you remember earlier, I mentioned that performance and user experience, of course, are the top goals, but we totally understand that users need to improve the monetization aspect of it. And this is one of the things that we would love to collaborate with others, and we're doing it with vendors and publishers. In terms of analytic, there's an AMP analytic custom element that right now gives you more than 10 vendors, different vendors like Google Analytics, but many, many others. And basically, it's giving you the ability to have this custom JavaScript on the page that is not interfering, is doing and actually collecting everything that you'll want, but without interfering or slowing anything on the main thread. In terms of ads, obviously something important to any publishers that using it to have the content distributed for free, but trying to monetize from that perspective. AMP ad is actually a custom element that, again, with lots of third parties, giving you the ability to put ads and to monetize your content. And there's no any restriction on the ad density. In terms of access, so it's a custom element that gives you the ability to have paywalls. So again, something that publishers need and leverage and use. And here they could do it very easily with this custom element. And it's doing basically all the best practices of giving the login, the sign-in, and all the other aspects that you will expect from any paywall out there. In terms of joining the AMP initiative, it's all on ampproject.org. Everything that you need to know, including a nice tutorial of your first AMP page, and it's relatively easy to do it. It's under 10 minutes, and you have something in place that you could later on mimic on a real-world page, which is also very powerful because it's not just an hello world demo. Then when you get into the real thing, it's a completely different ballgame. It's actually very, very close to what you will do if you want to take it to your production site. We're also very, very active on GitHub, so just feel free to go over there and check the project. And in terms of developing and testing, as I mentioned before, it's all being done for you, so you're opening DevTools on your favorite browser, and you can check and validate your work immediately. So you're putting the tags, you're seeing what's going on, you're reloading the page with this hashtag develop mode equal 1, and immediately you're getting the feedback. And then, of course, you could hook it up to your build system and make sure that it's being done for you in this build system before it's pushing it to production. In terms of more innovation that we see in that format, so we have right now, out of the box, the carousel of the images that you see. It's being done, if you are doing it correctly on your pages, on your articles, actually on Google search, it will be done automatically and will be there presenting to the users, which of course, with a high probability, increase engagement and retention later on. We have a few other components that are quite obvious to anyone that is using and building modern pages on the web, like the sidebar and the list or accordion. One of the things that especially close to my heart and I'm especially excited about is the ability to have progressive web apps and app all together. So the beauty here is that, as I mentioned before, the user is landing on your page from WhatsApp, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Pinterest, just landing there inside, and they have a first great impression, right? It was immediate, instant, it was with great content, and they think that they will want to stay. And then you could offer them with AMP Install Service Worker the ability to move on and to improve their experience. If they want to come to your pages on a weekly, daily basis, then they'll have the progressive web app that will make their life much, much easier. So it's a nice bridge to actually enjoy both worlds of allowing your users that are heavy users or you want to convert into heavy users a much better experience, an app-like experience with notification, with offline capabilities, with all the great things that we have now in the platforms. But the great first impression that you built was built actually with AMP, and you didn't really need to reinvent the wheel and to throw the current CMS system and build a new one for it. You could leverage the current CMS system with the benefits of what the AMP projects offer you, and then move your users that are really enjoying your wonderful content to a progressive web app. There are lots of other vendors extension, and I had this interesting conversation with someone from AOL that they are building now a component for their player, and many, many more, of course. So with that, I have just the right time to have questions. So please don't be shy. I'll do my best to answer. Yes?
We have a website that's not really a news site.
I'll repeat the question just in case no one heard, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. So they have a website, and a current website that is working, and they were wondering what AMP could do for them because they don't need it for SEO or any other benefits, right? Right, so that's actually a great question, and the goal of AMP is to address exactly this point. You have a website, let's say that it's quite known and it's got these good users that are coming to it. The current websites, in terms of performances, is doing, let's say, between, I don't know, 1 to 10, around 6. You could quite easily make it 9 with AMP. We'd have another version of the HTML pages that are embracing the principle of AMP. It won't take you too much effort, time, in order to implement it, and the users will enjoy it, especially on mobile devices or any time that they have a slow connection, but not only on these moments, but all across the board, because their experience will be much, much better, because they have caching, because they have all the best practices baked into the page. And as a side effect, you'll enjoy the SEO benefits of your pages appearing in the Google search results, but that's not the only thing. The most important thing will be that the user experience will get better because we know that performance and the user satisfaction is tied very highly together. Yeah, so the question was, is there any reporting mechanism, any good analytic tool to give you a clear visibility of what the user is doing, because in many cases there won't be a direct connection to the servers because it's coming from the edge case, correct? Yes, so The answer is yes. The AMP analytic custom element is coming to solve exactly that. And it's getting richer and richer every day. So the current baseline is quite informative, and you could check it out. And it's getting even better and better. So I would say yes, definitely, if not 100%, 90% it's there to all the little things that you want to measure on a modern web page, like events, like custom events, like goals, all the other good things that you want to measure. It's already there, and it's getting better. The question was, it's an open source project, but it's relying on the caching infrastructure of Google. So what if I want to use a different caching system? So right now, it's part of the project, and it's giving out to developers for free, so it's always be there. We are working and thinking about how to open it even more, so if you want to use Akamai or any other caching layer, you could use it. It's definitely in the process. Thank you very much.
Our time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.